All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today we're exploring a pretty fascinating reality. Why our current approach to AI transparency is, well, actually destroying user trust, and how a radical shift in UX is basically the only way to fix it. If you've been following the tech world even a little bit lately, you know everyone is obsessed with ethical AI and trustworthy AI. But here's the kicker. The data is telling us that the way we're trying to build that trust, it's fundamentally broken. We're going to dig into some groundbreaking new research that completely flips our understanding of AI ethics upside down. We'll look at what really happens when users interact with AI, why our totally well-intentioned transparency efforts are totally backfiring, and most importantly, how we can redesign our systems to actually fix it. To kick things off, think about the last time a customer service bot or some automated system gave you a completely terrible answer. Did you blame the algorithm itself, or did you blame the human operator who was supposed to be, supervising it? It's a completely natural human instinct. We see a system make a mistake or show some kind of bias, and we immediately look for the person at the wheel. We're like, who programmed this? Or why didn't the reviewer catch this error? We just instinctively want to hold a human accountable for the machine's failure. But as we're about to see, targeting the human operator isn't just unfair, it literally misses the entire root cause of the problem. For a long time, we've basically operated on these exact assumptions. We really believe that if we just tell people we're using AI, everything's going to be fine. The tech industry has honestly relied on this almost religious belief that sunlight is the best disinfectant. The working theory was pretty simple. If we're just upfront about the fact that AI is involved, and if we stick a human in the loop to keep an eye on things, the public will totally trust the system. It was all about disclosure and human oversight. We kind of thought transparency was this magic bullet that would automatically generate legitimacy. But, and this is a massive but, two huge breakthrough studies from 2026 have completely shattered those assumptions, proving that our entire playbook for AI ethics has been upside down this whole time. And we're not talking about small, localized surveys here. These are large-scale, rigorous, empirical investigations that looked at how real humans in the real world actually respond to AI. And what they found is that our old playbook isn't just ineffective. In a lot of cases, it's actively causing users to lose faith in the products and the institutions they're interacting with. Let's look at the first study. They conducted experiments across the US and China, zeroing in on the difference between basic process transparency and actual rationale transparency. Basically, they wanted to know what happens when a government agency uses AI for hiring and they actually tell the public about it. They tested two levels of transparency. First up is AI disclosure. That's just slapping a label on it, notifying the user an algorithm is involved. The second is AI explanation, which goes a step further and actually provides the logic, the scoring weights, the real reasoning behind why the AI made a specific recommendation. The data here reveals a really stunning paradox. Merely disclosing AI involvement actually reduces citizens' perceived legitimacy and trust in both countries. If you look at the drop here, it's pretty drastic. Whether it was the Chinese sample or the US sample, when people were told that AI was used, compared to a control group where AI wasn't even mentioned, their perception of the decision's legitimacy just plummeted. Researchers call this phenomenon AI aversion. People are naturally skeptical of the black box. And what's wild is that providing an AI explanation, really trying to show the logic, didn't bounce that trust back up significantly. Explaining the AI did not fix the massive drop in trust caused by simply disclosing it. Transparency, it turns out, is a major double-edged sword. And it gets even crazier. You'd think that if a human bureaucrat stepped in, overrode the AI and said, nope, the AI is wrong here, I'm making a different choice, the public would cheer for that human oversight, right? Well, the data showed the exact opposite. When bureaucrats rejected the AI's advice, perceived legitimacy dropped sharply. Why? Because citizens interpret it as bureaucratic manipulation. The human isn't seen as this hero stepping in to fix the broken machine. They're seen as a bureaucrat using the AI as a convenient moral buffer just to dodge accountability. So why exactly is this happening? Well, to figure that out, let's look at the second 2026 study. These researchers analyzed over 100,000 real-world user reviews of AI products to see what people actually care about in the wild. They scraped this data from the software review platform G2, using advanced language models to analyze how users were spontaneously talking about AI. They weren't prompting them with specific survey questions about ethics. They were just listening to what users naturally complained about or praised. And what they discovered about the gap between the people who build AI and the people who use it is absolutely crucial. Here is the absolute game changer, the stark divide. To a developer, an AI hallucination is just a bug, right? Something to be patched. But to an everyday end user, an ethical flaw is a complete, fatal failure of the product. The researchers found that technical users, like data scientists and engineers, view AI as a configurable system. If an AI spits out a biased output, the technical user just thinks, okay, we need to tweak the data governance, improve the robustness. They feel totally in control. But a non-technical end user, they're experiencing the AI as a finished product. They don't have back-end access. So when the AI acts unfairly, they just feel powerless. To them, the product isn't just a little glitchy, it's fundamentally broken and entirely untrustworthy. And the breakdown here really highlights that contrast. It's wild. If you look at the metrics for end-user products, you see these massive spikes around things like human agency, accountability, and societal well-being. Everyday users want to know, do I have control over this? Is it fair? Who's taking responsibility? But then, if you look at the AI platforms, the tools used by developers, the focus completely shifts to technical robustness and safety. The people building the systems are literally optimizing for entirely different ethical priorities than the people actually using them. Which brings us to a really harsh realization. Ethical AI is at serious risk of becoming nothing more than a compliance exercise. Procedurally implemented on the back end, sure, but completely invisible to the user. We have all these high-level frameworks from the EU and the OECD talking about trustworthy AI, but right now, those frameworks are mostly just living in corporate legal departments. They're checkboxes. The user interacting with your chatbot doesn't see your back-end compliance checklist. To the user, if the ethics aren't visible and actionable right there on the screen, they literally do not exist. So the massive takeaway here, we have to stop pointing fingers at the human operator. Blame the system. The data clearly shows that when things go wrong, the fault isn't with the humans struggling to understand a black box. It's the system's interface completely failing to empower them. We need a fundamental mindset shift. As we learned from that moral buffer effect, even when humans try to intervene, the public suspects manipulation because the system itself is just too opaque. The failure isn't human error. It's a design failure. We simply haven't given the operator or the end user the tools they need to actually manage the AI ethically. The fix for all this? It's treating ethical AI as a core UX design principle, something called decision infrastructure. This means moving those safeguards from the hidden backend straight into the user's hands. Ethics can't just be a corporate policy anymore. It has to be a user experience. We have to design interfaces that make the ethical dimensions of AI completely perceptible and usable. Just like a UX designer thinks really hard about where to put a checkout button so it's super easy to find, we need to think about exactly where to put the challenge this decision button. We need an infrastructure within the UI that constantly supports the user's agency. So how do we actually build this? Well, by embedding a few specific features directly into the interface, designers can literally make the ethical choice the absolute easiest action for the operator to take. First up, surface clear data use cues. Don't bury how you use data in a 20-page terms of service link. Put it right next to the output. Second, add dynamic confidence indicators. If the AI is only 60% sure about a recommendation, the interface needs to visually scream that uncertainty so the human knows to double-check it. Third, and this might be the most crucial one, integrate immediate feedback and contestability channels. If an end user feels a decision is unfair, there has to be a clear, frictionless pathway right there in the UI to challenge it. We have to design for human agency. I want to leave you with this final thought to chew on as you look at the AI tools you're building or even just using every single day. Because as these 2026 studies have definitively proven, simply slapping an AI inside sticker on something isn't enough anymore. In fact, it might actually make people trust you less. True legitimacy doesn't come from a legal checklist hidden away on a server somewhere. It comes from building systems where transparency, fairness, and accountability are baked directly into the interface. It's all about empowering the everyday user, not just the developer. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really encourage you to start looking at the interfaces in your life through this entirely new lens.